Let's see if we can get this thing finished up today. I mean, seriously, dragging on. Anyway, so I'm kind of having issues with this thing because typically these are not the knives I make. I've done plenty of integral bolsters and stuff like that, but the majority of what I make is kitchen knives. So my issue is that I'm having a hard time trying to decide my process, which part I should do first. Should I shape the handle and the guard, or should I pull the handle off and then finish the blade? I'm not quite sure. So I'm having issues right there. It should be easy to figure out, but for some reason I'm just making things hard on myself. What I'm leaning toward is actually finishing up this top part of the blade, well, the blade itself, and then the handle part I'll do after I've shaped the blade. And this is kind of my reasoning behind it. So I need to thin this down a little bit, grind in the bevels, and then I need to get everything all centered up here. Because what I'm going to do is basically once I get my thickness, I'm just going to spray some Dicam on here and then scribe lines on each side so I can get the guard even, because it is a little bit wider on this side. Not a big deal because I knew I had to grind anyway. So I'm thinking I'm going to pull the handle off and get this thinned out, and then my bevel ground probably up to 120, and then also get the top of this guard to shape. That way I can do the profiles and everything. And then, of course, that part will just be done. So I'm going to pull this off of here and put this guard on. So I just basically have to get this on and get it pretty much lined up with what I already did, because this is kind of the right angle and everything. I need to drop it down a little teeny bit on the front just because I didn't really touch anything up here during the initial grinding, the initial squaring off and all that. So I mean, I am going to angle, once it gets past the ricasso, I'm going to angle it down just a hair. But I still want to take it down, the whole thing down just a little bit more. So I'm not going to be able to get this on here while filming, so I'm going to do that really quick. Actually, I just realized that I can film this because it's an integral guard, and I can just pop all this crap on the top of a 1, 2, 3 block and set it on here. See if you can understand what I'm saying here if I show you a little better. Maybe that's not. Maybe. I don't quite have this ground perfectly square in the corners. But anyway, pop the guard level with that, and then put the file guide on and smash it against that, and then everything should be pretty close to perfect. So now I can just set it on here, snug it down a bit, and then I'll just pull it back off and make adjustments where necessary. This is one of those Fireball tool 1, 2, 3 blocks that has the magnets on it. Not the greatest for a machine shop. Well, steel working shop, definitely not a machine shop. But they are recessed enough that if you do have a little bit of steel in there, it doesn't really inhibit anything. So these are pretty cool, and the price is right. And who doesn't love magnets anyway, right? Okay, so that definitely is not where it needs to be. So that didn't work. And it's basically because my corners aren't perfectly square yet. So that 1, 2, 3 block was not exactly where it needs to be. So because the corners aren't quite square, I just need to slide this guard off out of the corner of that 1, 2, 3 block. Not sure if that makes sense, but this should make it so this whole thing squares up, or at least close. Yep, that's pretty close. Still needs a few adjustments, but really close. Take this and give it a few taps to push it down a hair. A few more taps. It's almost perfect. Okay, I'm running into a little issue with putting this file guide on. I don't know if you remember back in the first video, or maybe, no, sorry, the second video, I had a little bit of an issue with the guard not being perpendicular to the blade, and it looks like I'm still running into that problem here. So because this is already heat treated, I can't really do this on the mill. So I think I might have an idea. And what I got to do is get my platen squared up. Probably ought to tighten it just a little bit first. All right, so I got to get the platen squared up to the work rest. Let's see where we are here. So zero that, flip it up here, and we're actually pretty close. Try to get it a little closer than that. $90.2, I'm good with that. So we're squared up. Now, like I was saying, I've got these little magnetic 1, 2, 3 blocks. So I'm just going to lightly, so this should be all squared up, or pretty close to it. So I'm just basically lightly going to go through here and rub this against the side of this until it looks like it's squared up. And then we'll see what happens. All we can do is try, right? So yeah, you can definitely see we're hitting the top first. So, all right, let's see how this works out. We're getting there. Just basically need a small spot just for that file guide to grab it. I think that'd be close there. Flip it to the other side. See what we got. And we're hitting the opposite side on that side. So yeah, as you can see, we are completely canted. One direction. All right, I'm good with that. I think that might lock down just enough. I'm gonna swing over here and try and put this thing back on. Okay, pop the work rest off because I don't need it. So, yeah, that worked perfectly, actually. I put a square back on here, and it's perfectly perpendicular to the guard now. So that little bit is exactly what we needed. So I should have this on here now where I want it. So I'm going to start with the 120 grit and grab the top of this, clean it up a hair, and then I'll swap to an 80 grit. Actually, I might stick with 120 and then thin this up just a little bit. It doesn't need to be thinned up much, just a hair. So here we go. I just want to make sure that my belt is tracked even with my platen right here, so I don't go too far in. Looks like we didn't quite go low enough with the file guide. Just barely. Alright. We make an adjustment. Alright, let's try this. That's better. It might be a little bit more that we have to go down there. No, because I think this is close enough that when I go to hand sand, we'll be just where we need to be. Let's throw an 80 on and get going on this blade. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and get my belt lined up with the edge of the platen so I don't go in too far. And I'm going to put a new belt on. This just kind of isn't doing it. All right, try it again. There we go. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Something's hooking, pulling me. Okay, we're good on that side. Come back over here, take off just a little bit more. 120 on here, probably a newer one. Took a little weird chunk out of here, but that's fine because my plunge line's going back to here anyway, so we'll be good there. I just gotta get this weird spot out of the top now. Okay, we're pretty close right here. I just need to take and work on the back of the spine of the blade. So I need to clean this up, and then also I need to round the corners off because that's how I do my knives. So gotta swap platens, or not swap the platens, but pull the flat platen off so I have a slack. And we're going to put our J-weight belt on. Get this guy going again. We're going to slow it down a bit. So now I can just use this and be kind of light with it. I don't want to do any major reshaping. We're just cleaning things up is all. So I got to be really careful up here because this slack kind of wants to not make a sharp corner. So I'm actually going to clean this up until I get to that corner, and then I'll kind of focus on that. I might have to do that by hand. We'll see. Yeah, I'll have to do that by hand. I can't quite get in there with that belt. But we're good with the spine. So now I just need to draw some bevels on here. I can get this off of here. Oh, actually I can't yet. I gotta clean up inside of here. I'm gonna leave the slack on for this because with the thickness of the platen, I can't get it inside of there. So hopefully this will work out okay. Yeah, not really. I'm gonna have to do that by hand as well. Yeah, I need some sort of backing on there just to get into there, because this is just curving and then not hitting the middle of it. So we'll just do all that by hand. We'll be good. So I've got my scribe lines put on here, my plunge line on both sides, and then my center line. So I'm going to start with, well, I'm really hoping I can get that plunge line how I want it. Yeah, we'll be good. I can hit that angle. So when I was saying in the second video, I think, is when I was doing my rough grind, I wanted to show you how I do the recurves, because on a flat platen, when you have a recurve, a little concave area in the center of the blade, you can't follow that contour with a flat platen. Because if you do this and drag it across, you can follow this inside section, like the edge of the blade, but your bevel line is going to be straight. So all I do is when I'm working the inside of that recurve, so this is going to be really exaggerated, but it'll help prove the point. So what you'll want to do is you turn the blade like this and you use the corner of the belt to dig in to those concave areas. And then when you get to the apex of that, then you can swing out and move your blade like that. So basically the entire time I'm dragging it like this and then like that. When I get toward the tip, you kind of have to turn things, unless you want your bevel line to not really follow the same path as the rest of it, because you can only go so far with a tip of the blade. I don't know if that really makes sense, but you'll see it in a lot of people's blades. Their bevel line will follow perfectly, and then when it gets up to the top, it tends to get closer to the edge. And if that's what you want, because it'll make the tip less flexible, then I mean, keep doing it, because that's what you'll need to do. But if you want it to look like an even bevel all the way up, when you get to the tip, you usually have to turn it. And of course, that all depends on how far in your bevel line is from the edge too. So anyway, hope that makes sense. I'm going to try to do this without getting my fat head in your way so you can see what I'm doing. So here we go. And I forgot I ground a little too much on this side during the rough grinding, so I have to quit hitting toward the edge on this side, but I need to hit more on the edge on this side to get that all centered up. So it's kind of hard for me to do, because normally I have my head right up in here like this, but if I do that, you can't see. So I'm only going to do this a little bit more, and then I'm going to have to move the camera. But you get the point of what I'm doing. You swing it out and then swing it in, and then as you can see, you can follow that curve instead of having a flat bevel. Okay, so I've gotten this with the 36 grit. I've gotten it close to that line that I want. So I'm just going to leave that there and get it even closer with the 80 grit. You're getting way too close. On this side, that left-handed grinding. All right, so we're really close here. Kind of Went a little too far in one spot right here. But we'll be fine. On to the 80. And I'm going to dig in a little closer to the plunge line. Okay, we are closer still, flipping to the other side. And in perfect fashion, I messed up that side a little bit, but it's fixable. Just got to get creative. All right, on to the 120. And we're going to slow our belt speed down a little bit. Okay, pretty close to my edge thickness. Gotta get those 80 grit marks out of there. Now I just got to try to fix this. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the flat just a little bit to pull that grind mark out of there. And then we'll try to get a nice little swoop like this side. Boy, I hit that pretty hard. That's something I'm going to have to work on. I'll get that little wooey out of there. Okay, I'm going to throw a J-weight 220 on here just to pull the plunge lines back a little bit. So I'll slow this down even more, and then basically what I'm going to do is hang this over the edge so that when I push up on it, this presses it against the corner of the platen and then creates a little abrasive on the side that'll dig in. All right, I think I'm good with the grinding. As you can see, I made a couple little mistakes here. That's stuff that I should be able to fix in the hand sanding, or I might have to go over it again with the grinding. But yeah, typically I leave a little bit more of a curve right here, and yeah, I kind of messed that up a little bit. But everything is still straight The bevels are right down the middle. Everything's good here. So my next step really quick is before I put the handle back on is I want to get this guard shape somewhat close to where I want it. So I don't want to take too much more off this side here, but you should be able to see that there's more material on this side than on this side. So basically what I got to do is I'm going to take my calipers and get, my dividers, and get the distance I want. If I can do this. Yeah, I might have to use something else. These aren't quite working so well. Yeah, we'll be good with these. I just have to get the angles right. So I'm basically just going to scribe a line on this side and then the other side. I do have some dicum on here. So let's see if I can get this right. All right. So we're pretty close. I'm actually going to spray a little more dicum on this. Let's see if I can get this right. Okay. Yeah, we're good. So so basically what I need to do now is I just need to flatten this up and then flatten this up. This side hardly needs anything taken off of it. And then I'm not quite sure how far off the back I want to come here and how far forward I want to go, but I know I'm taking some off of this. But for now, I mainly just want to get this nice and squared up, and then we'll put the handle back on and get the profile taken care of. So I'm going to do this with a 36 grit. Want to take a little more off this side toward the back. Okay, yeah, we're good. And then I'm just going to eyeball the back side of this a little bit. Going to take off a little. Try to keep it square. Yeah, right there. And then gonna round it up a little bit. And then a little bit off the front. Probably just like that. And then let me clean up the front a little bit, the front of the side. I think we're going to leave it right there for now. Okay, as you can see right here, we've kind of squared things up. I mean, they're a little off. This is just eyeballing, but as soon as we get the profile done, then we'll come back through here and actually get everything rounded nicely on the back. This will probably come to a little bit more of a taper toward the front. It might even be square. I'm not quite sure yet. But with that somewhat cleaned up, now can put the handle back on. And then we're going to snug this guy back up. Maybe if I can get this nut on here. Okay, there we go. Now we just have to snug it up a little bit, give it a little twist, shuffle, get it back into its final resting place. Check it out, make sure we're still square. It's not a big deal that we're exactly square, because we're going to be shaping this thing. Give it one more snug on there. And that is a beautiful fit. Look at that. Okay. So with that on there, now just have to draw some lines so we know what the shape is going to be, so we can clean it up and get a nice profile. So we're just going to use the marker. And the first thing I want to do is get a line on here so that we know the back is going to be straight. And the only thing I'm scared of is because I readjusted this angle, that I may have dug out at an angle, and then like on the inside I may have dug out on an angle. So when I try to keep this square, then all of a sudden I'm going to hit a place I dug out. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. You should be fine. So what I want to do really quick, get a little acetone and see if I can clean off these. Now, oops, I guess. Get a little acetone and see if I can clean off these marker marks on the top. And no, they're not coming off. So screw it. So I just want to eyeball this. So I have a line coming off the spine of this knife. Just got to be close to it. I got a better idea. How about if we do this? Put a 1, 2, 3 block on there, and then just press the spine up against the 1, 2, 3 block, and then take the straight edge. Just make sure everything's still where it needs to be. Put the straight edge on there against the 1, 2, 3 block, and then all of a sudden we're exactly where we need to be. So get a straight line on the back of here. So it's going to be the inside of the marker lines we want to mess with. The other thing I want to do is I like to keep the inside of the handle even with the ricasso right here. So let me spin this around so I can see it. And I mean, the lines that I have on here are actually really close to where that is. Boy, I need to quit putting this on a magnet. It's picking up all sorts of dust now. So we're going to want to bring it into about there. And then I also need to mark the guard, because the guard is going to be, the finger swell is going to be pretty much into the guard and then down into this material. So we're basically looking at something close to this. And then we're going to come around here, follow this in like this, and then so it's down toward the bottom here. This is kind of where I wanted to change some shapes a little bit, but I just never know what to do back here. Like, do I want something really curvy and extreme looking, or do I just want something more classic and straight? I don't know. It's hard to decide. But anyway, for now, I'll stick with this. Maybe it'll give, you know, a little hook down here to lock your fingers in. I don't know yet. But yeah, for now, we'll stick with this. Once I get the finger choil cut out, then I'll be able to, you know, wrap my hand around it and feel what feels good. I think right now this is going to be about where it needs to be, but I won't be exactly sure until that's cut out. I know I've heard a lot about you shouldn't use 36 grit belts on small wheels and stuff, but what does anyone know? Seems to work okay for me. Gonna attempt to get a better angle. I don't know if this is gonna be the right size, but we can always change it. It'll at least be the right size to clean out this down here. So let's get going. We'll just start on this spot down here. Let me change up my dust collection here. Alright, let's see if this works better. That dust was a little more than what I want, so I just taped the little nozzle. Oh yeah, that works much better. Getting almost all of it now. And I'll clean this backside up better as soon as I put a flat platen on, but for now, this is how I'm doing it. I know mixing metal and wood down the chute is not good, but we're taking our chances. And we're not going to be able to clean this up until I remove the handle, so the back end will stay a little weird for a minute. Alright, I gotta put a smaller wheel on here. Okay. Oops. Forgot to turn the vacuum back on. That'll make a difference. Gotta be careful, I'm getting a little too close to where I don't want to go past on the top here. Okay, I'm going to throw a 120 belt on here now. Alright. We'll just clean up these 36 grip marks. All right. All right, I want to draw some center lines on here because, so as you can see, we've got to narrow the thickness of the handle down now. So what I'm going to do is draw a center line around the whole thing. And then I'm going to go from thin here and then taper it so it's thicker at the back. Basically, you know, so you have a little, not only a little hook right here to hold your hand toward the guard, but you also have a swell that's going to make it so it helps keep your hand up this way. So all I've got to do is find the center, and I'm just going to get really close to the center of the edge. Close enough. And then all I will do, you get the lead to come out of this a little bit. There we go. Is I'm just going to trace a center line. That I am hoping isn't quite center, because if it is, then the back end of this is off. Wouldn't be the first time. I know how to fix that stuff. All right. Something with the way this was sitting on there made this line go kind of weird. Line right here is the center. Okay, we're good. Blah, blah, blah. We're good. So I do have my center line. And then from this center line, I'm just going to take and make a mark here, slightly past the guard. And then I'm going to measure the back side of here from the center. Sometimes things are a little easier when you have a extra set of hands. So we will go, let me see, what do we at up here? So we'll just go 3/8 and then 3/8 like we are there. And then the back side, 1/4, 3/8. We're going to go to 5/8. And then we're just going to draw a line from there to there. And another line from there to there. And then we just have to cut that or grind it, whatever you want to do. And I'll say grind it because I don't really feel like pulling this handle off just yet. So I'm going to do some rough handle shaping really quick now that I've got all this kind of even and centered and all that stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to create some little swells, some little channels in the back. So it creates a little bit more to lock your hand into. Just small ones, and then I'll put the small wheel on and go through and kind of do a little bit of tapering. I mean, as you can see, this is larger than the guard, so I got to follow the guard. And then I'm just going to do some, typical knife handle shaping where you curve a little bit on the back where the palm goes and then curve a little steeper where the fingers go. But it's all going to be really basic, and then I'm going to pull this off and get some shaping and cleaning up the guard. You can see I'm just creating a little swell down here. Try to match the same angle on the other side. As you go, you just gotta kind of check and make sure you're matching each side up. And I think that's close enough for this. Now some small wheel. I'm throwing a smaller wheel on here so I can get some of this guard shaped. I'm going to put on a different 120 belt. And away we go. So basically I'm just trying to get the inside of this finger choil smoothed a little bit. Put some angles on it. Okay, I think we're good right up in there for now. Okay, I'm gonna clean the back of this handle up really quick before I move on. But as you can see, I've popped the rotary platen on here. And I'm gonna do some work with the guard. Just want to get that guy all cleaned up. So now basically what I want to do is I just want to just clean this guard up, get everything nice and even on both sides. And then I actually want to create a little feature in here just to spruce it up a little bit. Going to be cleaning this up to about 220. Well, not about 220. So I changed my mind on the feature. So what I was gonna do was take this small wheel and then create like a groove right here. So basically I'd have a nice line, a lip, I guess, around the entire guard, but I've decided against that. First, I don't feel like messing this up, and it's easy to mess stuff up when you're doing that. And then the other thing is I don't have a wheel small enough to create a small enough groove. Maybe I can use some diamond files, and maybe I'll do it after the fact, but as for now, I'm just going to take a 220 and clean up the rest of these spots on here, and then we'll be able to put the handle back on and do a shaping of the handle, and then it's on to hand sanding. I need to get a little bit more light over here so I don't jack things up. And then and we'll be good. Okay. I think we're all right. All right, let's stop for a sec and assess where we're at. So here we go with the guard more or less cleaned up before hand sanding. You can see there's still some imperfections in there, but this is the basic shape. You know, also you can see the imperfections in the grind that I did. Not happy about that, but whatever. So we're going to pop this handle back on here and get everything fit back to where it needs to be. And I'm going to go over on the slack belt and get this handle refined just a little bit more before we head over into the hand sanding. I need to put a washer on this. Yeah, I got to put a washer because now we're at a pretty extreme angle, and the wash will help be able to tighten this back down. So we just need to get everything centered back up to where it's supposed to be and snug down. Double check everything, make sure we're still straight. Looking pretty good. Snug it just a little bit more. Yep, that's where we need to be. So I want to throw a 120 or a 220 on the slack belt, and then kind of just clean this up a little bit. Bring this up to the steel. I want to bring the wood up to so it's nice and flush with the steel. I was debating on putting a spacer in there so that I could reduce the size just a little bit to do an heirloom fit, but I'm just gonna stick with this. I'll probably just bevel these corners just a little bit on the steel and the wood where they meet up to give it the appearance. But for now, I think this is good. Gonna head over to the slack belt and get this cleaned up. Oh, look at that. Pretty close to what I'm wanting here. All right. So I tried to get the rest of this done in one video, but at this point, if you've seen a few of my videos, you know the problem. But anyway, so here's where we are. It's looking almost like a knife now. So we've got everything roughed up. I mean, finished, but not to the finished point. So everything's lined up, and the bevels are in, and the handle is shaped and smoothed up a little bit. Basically, all we've got left is I've got to do some hand sanding, and in the hand sanding, I'm going to clean up some of these crappy lines that I left on here from my poor grinding. I just had one little mishap, and it kind of got worse as I tried to clean it up. But anyway, it'll clean up in the hand sanding. So hand sanding on the blade, and then I've got to take some diamond files and finish up here. As you can see, it's still rough, and I don't have any platens that are thin enough that I can tuck this into the platen and get it. That would be ideal, but I don't want to have to fashion some whole new setup just for something that I rarely do. Anyway, so that, and then I'm going to take some diamond files and square up some of the slightly rounded corners in here, and from there we'll be ready to put my mark on here and then etch it and then glue it up and then do the finish sanding on the butt where the nut will be to hold everything together. That has to be cleaned up after the fact. So we're almost there. It's just a bunch of cleanup now. So as always, thanks a ton for joining me. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comments. I'll get to them. If you haven't subscribed, it's definitely appreciated. And if you don't like the video, don't feel pressure to like the video. You can even tell me what you don't like in the comments. And as long as it's constructive, I love it. If it's just a snarky remark, I mean, leave it. I don't care. I'll just comment back with another snarky remark. Even the snarky remarks help the channel, so feel free if that's what you feel like doing. Anyway, again, appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video.